The Instigator Hour. And welcome to the Instigator Hour. I'm your host, Ren Werner. We are in Studio B, my home office studio. We're not in the main studio. We got some stuff going on there this week. But I'm so excited to bring you our guest, Boy Jr., Erica Lubman. Yes, I don't know.
Yes, that's perfectly fine. Yeah.
Yes, hello. Wonderful. Hello. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Really excited to chat with you about this kind of, I don't know, this new frontier. You're the leader of this new TikTok movement, and the real example of how, like, if you actually have the goods, you have access to billions of people. So, and they can enjoy your stuff and become fans. So, kudos. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very cool thing being alive in the 21st century sometimes.
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, I know a lot of people, myself included, can harp on the negative aspects of technology and everything else, but, like, man, I really try to only let the good in if I can, or only allow technology to help and make things better versus get sucked into the negative stuff, you know?
Yes. It's really hard. Like, literally a challenge every single day. But that's kind of the nice thing about having the opportunity to, like, take a step back and talk about it in this broad sense. Like, you know, just talking to new people about making music and stuff, and realizing, like, there's a lot of really good things about the way things are sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Your newest single with Uma Jensen, Crooked Tooth,
yes, I
think is so phenomenal for so many reasons. One, the production in the track is just a banger. But
yeah,
on top,
honestly, that's really all Una. That was like,
really?
That's her magic. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, interesting, because now Uma's on my radar too, so that's cool.
Oh, heck yeah.
But yeah, I think the main thing that I'm so impressed with is the messaging behind, and like the theme, and like the real concept of the song of, like, hey, this is my insecurity, but I'm gonna make it my superpower.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's really rad, and I think that's kind of, as I've been kind of stumbling through and learning and trying to get a grasp on TikTok for my band, and just understanding, I don't know, I don't want to be the old guy, the old elder millennial left in the dust.
I mean, yeah.
But that's what I'm learning, is like that, you know, it can be kind of a toxic place, but like with the trolls will find their way anywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But the positive reinforcement, I think, outweighs everything. Like, I feel like the community that I've found, and I'm curious to pick your brain about what the algorithm is feeding you. But at least in my feed, it's, you know, it's other musicians. It's a lot of coaching stuff. And so far, the community and what I've been fed via the algorithm has been, like, other kind of middle-aged white musician dudes, which is, you know, to be expected, I suppose. But, like, I have been struggling with trying to figure out how to generate, like, what's quote-unquote authentic content, which, like, how authentic can you be staring into a black dot on a camera? It's like... So I don't know, I'm just curious your thoughts on this. Like, so as you started, like, did you, like, you got so many good series too, like your list of fake band names and your crazy mashups from the perspective of other artists. I don't know, you just got, your content is incredible. I'm a huge fan. I think I messaged you at one point telling you that I may have to unfollow you just so I don't inadvertently rip you off. You know, it's like everyone's, like, struggling, and there's the common tropes on TikTok. You know,
yeah. I mean, I get a lot of ideas from other ideas, and because I mean, I think there's, like, tons of other people who do the, like, one artist's song and another artist's style.
Sure.
And I honestly do not remember, like, where I saw it first, or if I just saw that generally it was a trendy thing for people to be doing on TikTok, and I was like,
well, it's certainly clever.
So many ideas, but it is really funny how people will come in and be like, oh my god, you stole this content, you didn't even come up with this idea, and I'm like, yeah, neither did you. You didn't invent trolling.
Yeah, right. And also, you know, there's only 12 notes.
So true.
Right? I mean, I always think about that. Like, there's, you know, there's progressions, and I'm even exploring our band's thing is right now false memory sessions and false memories, where it's like, we're really like just indulging in our influences and being like, well, we're gonna make like a Foo Fighters track or a Nine Inch Nails track.
I love that.
So like, and like I think that's fair. Like I think you have to at least own up to your influences and like kind of wear them on your sleeve. And like the whole idea,
I try to like exploit them almost. I mean, exploit is like totally the wrong word. But like, or okay, maybe that in like a softer sense. Just in that, like, I used to feel like I was supposed to hide the fact that certain songs that I've released or certain songs I will be releasing on this album in June, I feel are very clearly influenced by certain artists and influences. But then I found that that's actually great grounds for relatability and much more enticing to someone than just like, hey, here's a song I made when I was trying to make something that I had never heard before, and like, hi, I'm different, I make music, but it's like not anything you've ever heard before. And they promise like, good, just listen to it. Like I will like go overboard with like videos where I'm just like, I listened to nothing but Saint Vincent and Glass Animals for what I wrote. Like that's like partially true, but it's also like, if you counted all the hours that I have listened to nothing but Glass Animals and St. Vincent, like, yes, it probably would total to, like, a week at least. So, like, but I also, like, I find that it's much more enjoyable to be able to tell the story that way. And also a great source of inspiration. That's really cool that you guys are doing, like, sitting down and trying to write, like, a Foo Fighters track or something, like, something that inspires you.
You have to have, like, some type of launching off point.
Oh yeah.
You know, like just to blindly jump onto a page and be like, okay, so what vibe? What's the vibe? You know, it's real. That's daunting, and I think
it's so hard.
Yeah, I think either way, it's really cool what you're doing and your series that you're putting out there on TikTok and everything. But I was also curious to pick your brain about like the trolling aspect. Like you're actually like you're kind of flipping the script on them with something like Crooked Tooth, right? Like you're like, no, I'm jumping on it before you even have a chance, you know?
Yeah.
And that's awesome too. So I've dealt with that a little bit too. I kind of have to subscribe to the Gary V thing of like, don't listen to any of it, the good or the bad. Like, don't let it permeate this. This is protected space that nothing can influence.
I understand that too. Yeah, definitely.
You can't get high on your own supply. You can't think you're awesome because you have 289K followers or whatever, you know? Because it's just going to... That's how
it's up to 89 now.
Well done. Nice work. Yeah, no, it's great. I'm fascinated by it. I really am, especially because you know, I stumbled on you just from playing Bug Jar. You know, like that's you know, I live 10 minutes outside of downtown Rochester, and that's like the one venue I actually feel at home at. And I remember back in the Kissing Booth days, and like the St. Vincent thing was always worn pretty heavily, and I really appreciated that. I think I'm drawn to female artists because of their vocal, because I can't do that.
Yeah, that's so funny because I feel the same way about like not female artists, or just honestly, more specifically, just anybody with a deeper vocal range.
Sure. I'm sorry to genderize that or misgender characterize.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I thought the same thing at first, but then I realized that like it's something I find applies outside of like any sort of like binary or identity. Because I mean, honestly, sometimes you hear a good song and you don't have context for who the person singing it is, but like the sounds just like work for your ears.
Oh, absolutely.
That's cool. I haven't heard it so much the other way around. Well, I mean, I guess I have, but
well, I'm also a super music nerd too, so like the super music passionates in this field, like we're a different level of like nuanced listening, you know, or like we know what kind of piques us in certain ways and everything. And so yeah, I found that fascinating. But to the gender point too, like I also thought the track you did with Medusa, which was a cover, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was phenomenal too. And I thought the teaming up of you two was just like, wow, they're gonna break something. Everyone watch out. Which it seems like you kind of did. I don't know, but
I hope I would love to do more songs with them. That's actually kind of funny because like I feel like I was like on the outside looking in when they released Boy of the Year, like. My God, like 2 years ago.
Well, they were doing some prolific stuff. Like they put out a couple records within a year. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and when I first heard their music, I was like, this person is on a whole other level. I am so fascinated. This is enriching.
And
I was
inspiring.
Like,
yeah.
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 And I think the first time I like reached out, I was just like, oh my God, they're probably not even going to see this. Like, I'm going to sound like a dork. But then like slowly but surely it was like, maybe we'll have a chance to work on something together. And then they had started this cover. And I jumped on with some vocals and guitar parts.
Which were totally rad. Thank you for, again, on top of the vocal, yes, the guitar. I'm always a sucker as an old guitar dude that when guitar can be implemented in a new contemporary post-genre kind of way. And that's what if there's anything I really just took from Medusa and applied to my own world and worldview moving forward, and this is even pre-pandemic, I remember, because we worked on a track together as well where I didn't like my vocals on this track. The track was kind of like a Portisheady track. And I was like, oh, I need like a jazzy type vocal on this. So and they knocked it out of the park. And that we released that like right in the beginning of the pandemic. But before,
I have to go hear that. I've never listened to that.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to plug myself here. We're talking about you. We're talking about Boy Jr. But
all right, well,
that's cool. Thank you. I'm happy I piqued your interest. Yeah. No, I bring this up because the post-genre attitude, which I absorbed from Medusa, was has really. I mean, you see it in hyper pop and like now hyper pop punk and BTS and like K-pop was doing this multiple genres within one song kind of thing. Yeah. And I don't know if it's feeding the ADHD of our society or if it's reflecting the ADHD or both.
I feel like both.
Yeah, right.
Well, what I think is very fun is that like for people creating music where like it's in tandem and tangled into any kind of neurodivergency. It's almost like collaborating with oneself. I'm very thrilled by this like newer like acceptance of very like sonically rich music, and the fact that it's like that kind of territory is like more allowed and even expected now.
Yeah.
Where like I don't get bored writing something.
That's it, right? Like each section throw me for a loop.
Yeah.
I want the rug pulled out for me completely. Every like 8 bars, you know.
Right. I mean, but it does concern me about the idea of things you know, being made for the gimmick alone. Not that I can think of anyone like who's doing that. More just like conceptually. You know, like I'm also just a lover of a good song.
That's it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what genre, and even like Jack White is kind of exploring this right now.
Oh, dude, I know.
So the new Jack White record, he's got one track where it's one way, like super hyper produced on one side of the album, and on the other side, it's like this live couple dudes in a room creating this magic moment. So it is like, and his notion on that whole thing was basically like exactly what you're saying is, it's the song. Like the song is what is the strong thing, and you can dress it up however you want, and that's why we're in this post-genre mentality, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a huge playground out there.
Right. Yeah.
Even if some of the playground is like wood chips to some people. I don't know.
Well, I think that's it. It's like the just having the openness to accept something new and move forward. I think.
Yeah.
The vibe that, I mean, I call our band Dad Rock. Because we're mainly dads, and like legitimately, but also it's like that old style of I don't know, 4 chords in the truth or 3 chords in the truth, and like distortion and drums. Like I'm just happy there seems to be like a renaissance coming where that's, you know, guitars never really went away. They've gotten maybe more warbly and like chorusy, and you know, there's just like different contexts and different aesthetics on where they get placed in the mix, and like how
but I feel like there's like a 2005 revival on the come up right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's also in conjunction with like the new pop punk revival or what.
Totally.
Yeah, right. It's just kind of riding this wave, so it's good. I mean, again, as a primary guitar player, it just warms my heart that that's where we're where we are and where we're heading, and like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And what's fun is, so our playlist for this episode is pretty good. Of course, we have Boy Jr. and the Uma Jensen track Crooked Tooth, because we've been talking about it, and we have to open our show with that for sure. We might even add more Boy Jr. tracks, because why not? But we have, I don't know if you've heard of the band Moonwalker. I think you'd very much like them, because they're like a two-piece unit. They're doing some cool vintage rock kind of stuff, but like interesting dynamics in the song. We also have Wet Leg, which have been just blowing up for the past 2 years. I know, Wet Leg. Like they're kind of like the hipster band at the moment, right? Like the hipster hot band. But also we have LP. I'm sure you're familiar with producer LP, who so happy LP's getting their justice as a solo artist now. And the new Jack White, of course. I don't know if you've heard of the band Lawrence. Have you heard of Lawrence with that amazing vocalist? It's almost like it's got like the same vibe of like I'm thinking the track I'm gonna play, I forget the name, but it gives me almost a Lizzo vibe. This kind of like but I'm still living. It's so good. And then we've got another artist. The last episode I talked with a TikToker, Matt Bacon, who's like a music marketing dude on TikTok. But I've featured as many TikTok artists that I've found, and we have one more that just put out a album Friday, who goes by Primer, and so we're going to be featuring some Primer. But that's pretty cool. And name. They're great too. So worth checking out. And any thoughts on Rochester scene? Like, you've been floating. Are you playing live a lot? You've been kind of heading out to New York City. You know, did you go to California to?
Yeah.
So you've been bouncing around. So you've just been getting this lift, right?
I mean, I feel like before the pandemic, I was sort of overexposing myself with Rochester shows sometimes. I don't know. I feel like that has like a really negative connotation. But what I was doing very well was burning myself out. I think I was playing a lot of really enjoyable shows, and my problem was that I wanted to play everything.
Right.
And I wanted to be involved in everything. But I do feel like I was hitting a point where it was like, a lot of people were coming to see me, and I was doing the same show every time almost, you know, changing a couple songs. But like, I have a very like theatrical element to my live show that is different every time. But also, I only have so many songs. So I have not been playing live locally as much because I really want it to be special. And so I'm probably not going to be doing another live show until this summer, with some touring plans that I'm not sure that I can talk about.
All good. No need to spill the tea. Don't spill too much tea. It's cool. Yeah. We fully expect amazing big things to be coming from you in the future. So
thank you.
Nothing will be surprising.
Yeah. Well, I am putting out an album in June, so there will definitely be events surrounding that.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, that's amazing and good for you. And
thank you.
Definitely on the idea of like, I think the pandemic really paused everyone. I mean, obviously, but I think if you looked at it as an opportunity to kind of reinvent or deconstruct what was working with your band or whatever and what wasn't, I think we were in that same boat too. Like that was the last show I've been to was, God, what would it be? February of 2020, so like right before it hit in like March,
right? Yeah.
And we played with Medusa. I think that was it doesn't matter. Anyway, I bring this up because that show felt to me, I was like, oh yeah, we played this particular show because it was like a last minute thing. I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And that's usually like how it goes, right? Like you get a quick ask and you're like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. But to your point, it's like, what is the point? Like, am I reaching new people? Is this a new show? And I'm so happy we've had these 2 years to kind of go back to the drawing board and re-examine and re-figure out how and what we're doing and how we present ourselves. And I'm dying to just go to a show at this point. But I'm happy that it made us kind of look at, how are we presenting ourselves online and like social media wise? Like, because that is so much bigger now. And I think it's such a bigger component to the overall pie chart of you're an artist and all the different hats that an artist has to wear now. Yeah. You know, it's just so much. It's a lot, you know, let alone trying to have a full-time job or be a dad or a parent or partner.
No, it's super overwhelming. I feel really grateful that I enjoy doing a lot of those things. I know a lot of people don't. And I do think, if anything, that speaks to the nature of like humanity's need to work in teams, and that we're often stronger when we reach out to friends or people who are experienced professionals. I mean, I don't do like all of the Boy Jr. related graphics. My sibling Carrie is a graphic designer, and they merch and the album art and everything. I'll whip up like quick graphics for like my stories or my Patreon and Bandcamp covers. So anything that looks like it's poorly designed, sometimes is on purpose. Sometimes I'm trying to be funny, and I'm like, people probably think I'm really bad at art, which maybe I am.
I don't think so.
Like
but that's part of it, though, isn't it? Like, I remember even talking with our buddy we mentioned earlier, Jacob Walsh, who's a graphic designer. And I think he maybe posted about this online, and we were chatting about it via DM, which was like, the new graphic design aesthetic is like ugly. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that takes a lot of pressure off. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. It's supposed to look gross, you know, or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I can think of several examples. I mean, but I want to be putting things out there in the world that are, you know, have thought behind them and emotion behind them and will be memorable. And I'm a little bit too obsessed with the idea of like carving out a niche that like no one else is completely in right now, which I feel like sounded really, really pretentious when I just said that.
No, I think that was like, a really, really just articulate way of putting it, because that's really, I'm kind of doing the same thing. Like I said, you follow these trends, you look at the tropes. Part of the idea of TikTok, of what I've learned so far, is like you have to kind of study it to get an understanding of how to enter it. So
totally.
With that being said, it's like, I don't want to keep making videos where I'm editing myself talking to myself. Like, that gets old. And I think if you're a real creative or a real artist, you're looking for something to excite you. And even if something does hit on TikTok, then they're like, well, you got to repeat that. Like, and it's like anything. It's like having a hit song and the label being like, well, do that again.
Literally, it's the new version of that. You know, I've seen people say like, TikTok is the new music industry. Here's why. And it's like, well, it's also just a piece of content, and we're all trying to get a piece of the pie. Right. Yeah, super frustrating. Sometimes I get really distraught about numbers and stuff, and feel like, oh, I should have just gone with one bit and only done that, and I'd probably be getting way more views per video. But I've really tried to strike a balance between being an authentic artist and showcasing the serious work that I do, along with like the goofy, dumb meme stuff. I
think you're striking that balance beautifully.
Thank you.
I know now, from having attempted it since we put out a single in February, and like that was my first like on-ramping into TikTok and like figuring it out. And it was, I'll tell you what, it's exhausting to try to keep it up. And like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? I mean, of course you know what I mean. But that's like, so I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, to your point, it's a lot of work. And I've been referring to TikTok as like the new MTV.
Yeah.
If anything, like if you want to find an analogy, and the entire music industry is just the Wild West at this point, because no one really knows what's going on, because you have something like TikTok that's changing it up. TikTok, if not the MTV, is maybe the Napster of this time period, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's just shaking stuff up enough to where, yes, it's creating a lot of opportunity for young, smaller indie artists. And it's funny, I saw one TikTok recently of Gavin DeGraw, who's like, I don't want to be on TikTok. And it's like, but my label makes me want to. It's like, and the person who was stitching that was like, that's cringy. Like, maybe you're just old and your label is pushing you into this platform and you don't want to, and you're exposing yourself as, you know, you were fine on YouTube, you were fine on Facebook, but now you're an older artist having to adapt to this new landscape, and they're having a hard time doing it. So I'm like, it's not just me, it's not just you, it's everyone is trying to figure this out as we kind of move forward into it. And I think like trying to find that authenticity factor, I think acknowledging that is half of it. Right? Like, this is hard. This is embarrassing to put yourself out there like this. But I finally wrapped around to where I wanted to get, which was the balance that you have between the serious content, like your actual art, your songs, your original songs, you know, versus the marketing behind it, or the story you're telling, or the funny bits that you're doing on TikTok to help support and spread the reach of that. I think that's a really hard thing to do, and you are nailing it. So thank you. Even just by leading by example, you're again, like I said, I have a hard time watching you and not trying to rip you off because it's so good. So I apologize if I end up ripping you off, but
no, it's, I mean, imitation the biggest.
I know what you're saying.
Flattery, yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to keep you too long. I really appreciate you just having a chat.
Oh yeah, no, totally. This is great.
This is great. So any thoughts moving forward? So you've got an album coming out in June, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Can you release the name of the album? Do you know?
Oh yeah, it's Pay Attention to Me. It was spelled with 4 E's.
That's right. I think I did see that. Yeah, that's great. To go.
I've been like softly mentioning it. I haven't like put out like a hard like release date announcement. I am putting out a new single before that. It'll be the last single I release before the album. I'm thinking May 18th, which is the same day I'm playing the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn.
Great.
And
love the Knitting Factory.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be. I've never even seen a show there, but I wanted to.
It's a cool venue. It's very cool.
Yeah. And then the album, I'm aiming for like the 3rd week of June. Okay. So it'll be all those funky summer jams.
So is like Narcissist going to be on there? Is that part of this?
Yeah, Narcissist Baby, Chartreuse, and Meet Me in the Middle are the 3 singles that I've put out that'll be on the album.
Cool.
It's a total of 9 songs. I'm already thinking of making a deluxe version because I'm insane.
No, I love it. That's great. I'm inspired by other creatives whose brains just never stop.
That's my problem. I'm literally like, I'm plagued with ideas. Like,
yeah.
People are like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, I don't know how I do it either. There's a wizard in my brain who's like, you need to make this stupid song and you need to make it sound perfect.
Yeah, no,
like,
that even your one bit that was like, not every song has to be a masterpiece, but this one still has to be a masterpiece.
Yeah. Which was the audio was me in case like that like wasn't. Because like that audio is the most viral thing that I have ever made.
Really?
Not everybody knows that
it's relatable. That stretches across all types of creative, right?
Well, that was what was so funny. That and like that's something I made because I was literally feeling that way about myself and my music.
Yep.
And I was not necessarily expecting it to take off. But it really did, and it was exciting to see a lot of people like getting some joy out of being able to vent about those issues. But also really reminded me that it's like, wow, we really put a lot of pressure on ourselves and each other, and it's pretty dang weird. But people seem to get some joy out of it, and that was really cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's so good. I'm just excited for you. This is all good stuff. Yeah.
Thank you. That really means a lot.
We're going to keep watching you from our distance here. And hopefully once our kid gets vaxxed and I can go to shows again, I will be at your shows. Boy Jr., everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you out there. Go follow. Here are all of Boy Jr.'s socials. And you can go follow. Go. What are you waiting for?
Come to me!
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Instigator Hour.